The NFL is hitting pause on its new national anthem protest policy. You'll remember back in May, the NFL announced they would fine teams if players were out on the field during the anthem and did not stand. So here's a statement sent jointly from the NFL and the NFL Players Association. It says in part, no new rules relating to the anthem will be issued or enforced for the next several weeks while these confidential discussions are ongoing. It goes on to say our shared focus will remain on finding a solution to the anthem issue through mutual good faith commitments outside of litigation. Now, both the NFL and the NFL Players Association had announced that they had been working towards a resolution on this policy, but according to ESPN, the policy suspension announcement was pushed up because of a decision made by the Miami Dolphins organization just yesterday. They had followed up with the NFL announcement with their own announcement, kind of an increased punishment, saying that if players protest, they also faced a 4-game suspension. And so that's where we are now.
Yeah, so the Dolphins tell ESPN, or at least sources within the Dolphins, no, we're not gonna really suspend players for 4 weeks. We just have to put the maximum punishment out there because we can then downgrade it later, but it's harder to upgrade. I don't know if that's true, but that's at least the claim they're making.
Right.
Their policy got leaked.
Yes.
That's what happened.
Right.
And then they were scrambling because they looked terrible. And in fact, it looked so terrible that the NFL called the NFLPA, and the NFLPA has essentially bailed the NFL out.
Yeah, so the Players Association doing a good job here, as they should, defending the players. But look, there's 2 things about this story that drive me crazy. One is, of course, the owners siding with the bully, Donald Trump, when in the beginning they didn't even agree with him. Even though they're billionaires and they're largely incredibly right-wing, and yes, they might have been annoyed that the players were taking knees, and they're annoyed at anything that might ever cut into their profits, I understand that. But for a brief moment, a lot of them knelt with the players and actually seemed to empathize with other Americans, and that was a lovely moment. And then Trump bullied them, and they gave in, and it was one of the most pathetic things I've ever seen. Here's a bunch of incredibly powerful men in the country that are almost all billionaires, and they get cowed by Donald Trump. Why? Not just because of personality issues, because Donald Trump did something that was potentially unconstitutional. He challenged their tax breaks, and by the way, I don't think they should get the tax breaks, but that is what he did to punish their freedom of speech. And that's what makes it unconstitutional. And they collapsed and they caved, and then they did this deeply wrong and hurtful policy. Because remember what this is about. The protest is about, please don't shoot unarmed black men. It's not a big ask. It's not, hey, we don't like the troops. It's not, hey, don't go into wars in Iraq or Syria. It has nothing to do with the troops. It's about cops, and it's not saying cops are bad. It's just saying, can you please stop shooting unarmed black men? Can we look into the issue of clear police violence in this country? And it's spitting in their face to do this policy and to do it in this way. And the second thing that drives me crazy, real quick, is the assumption, not just by the owners, but by the press, that the overwhelming majority of the fans don't like the players taking a knee. That's actually not true. In fact, there's polling to show that 58% of Americans think that it is freedom of speech and should be supported.
Not in the workplace.
Yeah, a lot of veterans who fought for that right.
That's right.
The original policy, they reached out to a Green Beret, and he said taking a knee is a sign of respect in certain military situations.
Colin Kaepernick sat at first and then consulted the Green Beret who told him to kneel.
No, they agreed.
Yeah, and so Americans actually don't mind it, but they assume, since some angry right-wing white men don't like it, that they speak for all of us. They do not speak for all of us. And so when they say we are going to punish you if you do freedom of speech, first of all, it exposes the right-wing hypocrisy. They have never, ever believed in freedom of speech. All they've ever believed in is their speech and shutting you up. And second of all, it is a slap across the face to the majority of Americans and football fans who think that, yes, whether you're white or black or whatever color you are, you as an American have every right to speak out for your political opinions and social policy issues. And in fact, that's exactly what our troops fought for.
Yeah, and just the ridiculous reason that they gave, which is the paperwork was due. Our paperwork was due. We had a deadline. The Dolphins, when it got leaked, and then to cover themselves, they're saying, "Oh yeah. The paperwork was due at 4:00 p.m. on this day before the rookies took the field. So sorry, we'll work out the fine details later. But in the meantime, trust us that we won't go too far." Even though they have it on they wanted initially to have it on the books, so there was a 4-game suspension for this.
I like that, Jake, that you brought up why the players are protesting, because we have to keep reminding people of that, because the more we get to this part of it, now we're talking about punishments from their bosses, and people are forgetting, or just they're trying to make us forget what the original reason for this is, because it's ridiculous to be against what they're protesting for.
It's not just that they're forgetting what it's against, what it was really for. It's they're trying to turn it into something else, which is protesting the flag, protesting America, taking it into something that it is very consciously not. But since it is kneeling during the anthem, a couple things that are worth mentioning, I think. First of all, Colin Kaepernick, 16 touchdowns, 4 interceptions in 2016. Somewhere around the 15th or 16th best quarterback in the league.
Still no job.
Doesn't have a job. Eric Reed rates out in some ways as the 5th best safety in the league last year, and he's like 27 years old. He's in the prime of his career. But he kneeled every game with Kaepernick, and he kneeled every game last year. Doesn't have a job. That's outrageous.
And illegal and obvious collusion, and they are suing them, and they should get so much money that they could own an NFL team.
And so there's a couple of good guys. Well, there's at least one good guy here. So oddly enough, his dad, Woody Johnson, was the owner of the Jets, and he's now the United States ambassador to the UK because he has a rich history in diplomacy. But his son is running the Jets, Christopher Johnson. And I don't know Chris Johnson's politics at all, but he said, I'm going to pay every fine that any of my players get if they take a knee.
It's one of the best things an owner has
incredibly simple, straightforward. I would love to see this has been primarily, almost overwhelmingly, an issue of black athletes, understandably, where the issue is violence perpetrated by cops against unarmed black men, mostly, not exclusively, some women. But it would be nice. If I was thinking before the Dolphins thing got preempted by the NFLPA and the NFL making this deal, and I don't mean to call Ryan Tannehill, the Dolphins quarterback, out here. I don't know what his politics are either, but if you're going to suspend somebody for 4 games, and this is outrageous, this is wrong. So how about the white quarterback of a team take a knee with those black players?
Yeah.
And say, all right, go ahead, suspend me for 4 games.
And so look, LeBron James has been fantastic in so many different issues, but I was upset that he didn't do a protest about the shooting of a 12-year-old kid in Cleveland when he played in Cleveland, right? And totally unarmed, and it was outrageous. They shot him in 2 seconds flat. Yes, and so but I'm being too harsh because he's spoken out in other ways. Yes. But as I look at the NFL, I was saying this, and I said it last year as well. Aaron Rodgers, I know Tom Brady is roughly conservative, but it doesn't matter, man. This isn't about being conservative or liberal. It's about you play with all these, with African Americans, with Latinos, with just human beings. Stand up for them.
Jews, you play with a lot of Jews.
Well, not as much, Ben. I got to be honest with you. But if Aaron Rodgers and Brady and those guys took a knee, it would be so powerful. But as I was reading this today, I thought, you know what would be amazing and would really, I think it would galvanize the country, and I think it would show incredible strength, is if all the Dolphins came out and took a knee and say, what are you going to do? Suspend the whole team for 4 weeks? Have at it, Hoss. You're not going to do that.
I mean, that's what a lot of us were hoping for after the president called them SOBs, I think, for there to be Sunday full of players on their knees, I think, just in support of each other. But players are protesting in their own ways. And LeBron isn't protesting the exact same way as Colin Kaepernick, but he has been overwhelmingly vocal about, I mean, outside of even his own league. And he called the president a bum.
He did.
You know?
And he's been bolder and stronger than many others. Yeah. And by the way, he has the leverage to be able to do that.
Someone spray painted the N-word on his house.
Yeah, that's right. But look, and And after a lot of that was after the Tamir Rice shooting,
Yes.
and so I was very animated about that, and I think everybody gets it. I'm sure he was very upset about it too. But since then, he's been wonderful.
Yeah.
And the special flavor of incompetence of the NFL versus other leagues that have been able to handle this by listening to their players and communicating properly, and not making it this ridiculous.
And real quick, because I know we've talked about it a lot, but we've moved, like the issue has now been hijacked from the players who were eager to support, to take a stand and raise awareness about police brutality against unarmed black people, right? Because now what we're asking for is the league to stand with players for their right to have that protest in the first place. So no matter where you stand on this, and obviously everybody, I'm assuming 100% of American football players are fans of America and believe in the flag. It has nothing to do with that, but the time has come to stand up to bullies. These guys are bullies. And I think I sense today, maybe from the NFL, some recognition that they're on the wrong side of this. I hope. We'll see.
And I'm pretty sure the people involved with football are supposed to be tough guys. So you're gonna let a bully like Trump bully you around? I mean, how tough are you? 2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below. Then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.